Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Fiction Friday. We're going to do what? I can't type for nothing. Fiction writer needs to know. Y'all got it? Boom. Let's pin that comment. Bang. Good morning. All right, let's get into it. It's been a minute. Let's go. Good morning. Happy Friday. So good morning, gang. It's your girl, Sheree Robin. We're getting everything all set up and situated around these parts. So good morning. How you doing? And so let's get into it because it's Friday, which means that it's Fiction Friday. We haven't done a Fiction Friday in a while, so I'm super excited to dive in. Good morning. Make sure that you say good morning. Make sure that you take a moment to hit those likes and those shares and share the word, share the message that we are diving into a conversation on fiction this wonderful Fiction Friday. So happy Friday to everybody. We made it through another week. This one was a productive one. I don't know about you all, but I hope that this week was good and productive for you. It was for me. Good morning, everybody. Make sure that you join in and say good morning. Thank you so much. I appreciate it this morning. And this is our Fiction Friday. It's Fiction Friday. So if you're new around these parts, Fiction Friday is a segment that I used to do on a consistent basis, and then the pandemic, and then everything else happened, and business, it changed. So it's been a while since I've had a chance to do a Fiction Friday, but this is so important. So I wanted to jump on, and I wanted to get out here and share this message with you all this morning. So happy Friday, and let's get into this conversation about fiction. So before we dive in, the first thing that we want to understand and get clear right out the gate in this conversation about fiction is what the heck fiction is, right? What is fiction? So first and foremost, I'm Sheree Robin, Simon & Schuster best-selling author, editor, publisher, literary coach, all-around word nerd, and myself and my team of literary babes, that's my BAE, my badass editors, we help people write and publish books, okay? So let's talk about it. In that space of writing, publishing, supporting, coaching, right? I've been an editor for 20 years at this point in time. Good morning. Make sure you say good morning as you join in, right? So it's been 20 years, right? 20 whole years. See what I'm saying? I've been an editor doing this thing for some time, and I deal with a lot of writers on an everyday basis. Like I live this literary life for real, right? We not for play. Good morning, right? For real. Like this is what I do. So let's talk about it. Let's get into what fiction is so we understand if this conversation is for you in this space. Good morning. Okay. So fiction and nonfiction. Fiction is the fake. Right. So that's how we're going to clarify this. If anyone is ever not sure about, good morning, Mildred. If you're not sure about what fiction is the phony stuff. It's the make-believe, right? Fiction is you creating characters. It's you building worlds. It's stuff that may have happened in real life, but it's your own spin on it, right? You get that creative capability, that poetic license, so to speak, to flex that creative muscle in fiction, right? So fiction involves a lot of creative energy because you are essentially making up stuff, right? Things that didn't happen, people that don't exist. There's some variation of somebody that you might know, maybe a composition of a bunch of people that you do know, whatever, right? Maybe it's your own alter ego that you're writing about. Essentially, it could be anything, but it's not for real, okay? So that's fiction. Fiction involves characters, scene setting. It involves dialogue, right? There's a lot more in fiction than it is in nonfiction. So nonfiction is our self-help books. There are memoirs. They are that first-person perspective where someone's writing about themselves or they're giving you valuable information. So they're speaking specifically to you. Like that's nonfiction. But we're not talking about that today. Today, we're talking about fiction, okay? So fiction. So here are some basics, some things that you have to understand as a fiction writer. So by show of hands, I want to see whoever's hanging out this morning. Good morning again. If we have fiction writers in the room, if you are a fiction writer, let me see that. Say I'm writing fiction or that's me. Or if you are or not, tag a friend to tag a friend, right? In this space to get into this conversation because every time I teach, there are hundreds of fiction writers who excuse me, I got a question, Sheree. Excuse me, sweetheart. I have a question. Like I have to ask something about this thing. So I want to get into the fundamentals. All right, cool. We got some fiction writers in the room. Hey, awesome, good stuff. So I want to get into some basics with you to really help you out. Good morning, D. Oh, I'm so happy about D. So D is one of our authors, amazing. Trisha is one of our authors, so that's amazing. So is Mildred. Like, yeah, this is amazing. Okay, so fiction. Here's what I want you to understand. One of the very first things that we have to get and be clear on in any type of fiction novel that we're writing is there a plot? Do we have a plot? Do we have something actually happening and taking place in this manuscript? Is there a plot? Is there an action that leads to another action? Is there something moving in this space? Or are these just scenes, right? Ideas that pop up out at you. And so you're writing them down. And I remember taking a short story class in college in my early undergrad studies, and we were writing short stories, and I was writing scenes. Right? I was writing great scenes. They were amazing scenes, but I wasn't writing full stories. There wasn't a beginning, a middle, and an end. There wasn't a rising action, right? There wasn't something that my character was driving toward or something that they were trying to achieve. So my characters were just kind of kicking it on the page. Right? They were kind of hanging out. Things were happening. Interesting things were happening. They were amusing things, but they weren't propelling a story along. There was no actual point in what I was writing. And I mean, it was good because I'm a good writer, but it wasn't a story, right? It wasn't something that could actually be a story. And so I say this to you in the space of fiction because we get lots of ideas as fiction writers, lots of scenes that jump into our minds, lots of things that you want to capture. And this is all fine and well, but are you telling a story? Are you moving us through something progressively? Does your main character have an end goal? Are they after something? Is there something going to change or shift in their life? Do they become better, more, different? Are they challenged greatly? Are their morals up against something that pushes them to make some decisions that they may not have normally made? Right? Do we have a plot going on? Is there actually something happening in this book that's going to have me turning the pages? That's going to get me interested and invested? Right? Are we building things? Is there foreshadowing going on? Are you setting me up early in chapter 1 so that by the time I get to chapter 3, it's like, oh, that's good. Or, oh, I didn't see that coming. Right? Are you giving me clues or indicators? Is there an actual plot? And that's my big question for my fiction writers this morning. Have you taken the time to map out your plot, to really navigate that space before you just start wilding out and writing? Right? Before you just jump into it and start throwing things on the page, do we have our plot mapped out? Do we know what's going to happen? And so here's my suggestion when it comes to your plot. Here's how I want to help you in this space, not just ramble at you, but I want you to start to really, this is my advice to you, throw up on the page. The very first time that you start thinking about your book and you got all these ideas, I want you just to, bleh, just like that, bleh, right on the page. I want you to just get it all out. And I want you to get it out nasty too. I don't want it to be pretty. I don't want you to hang on to grammar. I don't want you to worry about it being perfect and profound sentence structure. You are not writing at this juncture for perfection, right? I want you just to give a massive, nasty brain dump. Get it all out. Get it all out. Everything that you are thinking of, scenes that you're thinking of, moments that you're thinking of, highs, lows, whatever you see in your mind, right? Initially, when you're thinking about this book, dump it all out. Then you're going to take a look at that beautiful chaos that you have created, that nasty mess that you got right there. And then you're going to start to organize that. That is going to become your plot. That's going to become the foundation for your plot. Okay, here's what I'm going to do next. All right, these are the things that I see that I want to happen. Let me lay these things out in a timeline. Let me lay these things out progressively. If I know that my character has to come up against this obstacle, maybe I can put something in chapter 1 that seeds that idea. So by the time we get there, it's boom. It's an explosive moment as opposed to just this random thing I dropped in here. So doing a crazy, nasty throw up kind of brain dump is really helpful to get these ideas out. Like I said, I had that before I started writing. Good. Now organize it. Now organize it. Take the time and turn that into your outline. Turn that into your plotting chart. You want your characters to do what? And when they have one action, what then happens next? That action then offsets another action, another chain of events. Move that along in your plot. That's what you need to have. A lot of times I get fiction narratives and they are all over the place. And I mean like all over the place. So I want you to take some time to do that nasty brain dump and then organize those ideas. Okay? That's number one. That's number one. Y'all got that? Cool, makes sense. Everything clicking, we registering, rocking and rolling. Yes. All right. So you're going to organize the madness that you have in your head and get this out and make sense of it. Don't just start writing. People go, oh, I just started writing. And I'm like, yeah, whatever happens, I'm letting my characters lead me. No, that's not how you want to do that. You want to control it. I had the beginning, the middle, and the end. I'm in the process of filling in the rest. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, cool. So we got your plot. Making sense. Make sure you say that this makes sense, and make sure you say good morning as you jump in on Facebook, on IG. I got some weird delay going on, but hopefully we're good. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is your characters, right? These are your characters. So now I want you to get into your character development. Let's talk about the consistency of these characters. I need you to do this for me. I need you to start to date your characters. I need you to get all up in their business, okay? Date them, know them personally. What are their fears, concerns, dreams, aspirations? What keeps them up at night? What are they deathly afraid of? When was their first kiss? Are they helpless romantics? Do they love cats or dogs? Are they bird people? Right? You need to know your character like you know yourself. You need to be intimately in relationship with these characters, or else you're not going to be able to represent them well on the page. And then this is where we have characters who we meet in one space, and then in the beginning of the book, and then all of a sudden in the end they're this entirely different person. Or we have this introduction to this character, but then how they speak doesn't line up with who you've painted them to be. Right? We've got this big bully of a guy, but he's like, oh yeah, everything's great. No. Why is he not flipping over tables? You just told me he was an ex-con. He's this, or he's that. We should be seeing some rage, right? What's happening, right? What is taking place here? If you tell me that your character is deathly afraid of the ocean and she had some traumatic experience, and I don't want to see her on a boat for her birthday, that don't line up. It doesn't line up. We don't have some inconsistency going on here. And it's because you don't know your characters. So I want you to spend some time dating them. Date them. Get into relationship with your characters. Love on them. Be committed to knowing who they are. Y'all, and someone asked that question, do I write? I don't write as much as I should, not for myself, but I'm getting back to it, right? I write for everybody else at this point, ghostwriting, editing, all of these things, but I am progressively getting back to my own writing, and my characters are looking at me like this, sis. What's up, sis? What's up? What we doing? What we doing? Because I'm in relationship with my characters. So if I don't tap into them, if I don't pour out what they're telling me, they're gonna be sitting on my shoulder like, so how long I gotta stay here? How long do I need to be here? Because I got things to do. I got people that I need to meet. I got my friends sending me messages. I got people in my inbox right now, like free prints till we free prints. I have to finish these projects because yes, there are people waiting on these sequels and the trilogy. So needless to say, that what I'm telling you is how I get these projects done. It's how our clients get these projects done. It's mapping this out. It's knowing exactly who your characters are. How are they going to respond? And so here's a trick that I use that's really, really helpful. I envision what my characters look like. Right? I get this picture of what they look like. And then I go find images online, right, of people who reflect my character. Who would this be? If I wanted my character to be played in film, who would this person be? And they don't have to be anybody famous. They can be any regular person, any model from wherever, any guy that you've seen. Doesn't matter. Just get this picture because nobody's going to see this, right? It's not like you have to publish this anywhere. This is for you. This is for your creativity. So I get these pictures. I get this in my mind, and then I was moving stuff. So I get these pictures in my mind, and then I print them out. And then I'm going to write words. I'm going to write words that then describe these characters for me. So I'm going to put things down on that space that talk about the the mannerisms, the way that this character is, if he's brolic, if he's, if he's short-tempered, if he is aggressive, if she is lighthearted and kind, if she's generous. So I'm going to put down all of these descriptive words about my character on that same sheet of paper. So I've got like this, or I'll print out a blank sheet right beneath it. So I've got this image of my character, underneath of that, a list of words that describe my character. So now when I'm going to write about my character, I'm using those words. I'm using the descriptors that I've already broken down in this space. So I might not say, so if I have a character who is very small and very petite, very almost like bird-like in her mannerisms, I'm going to use words to describe her that say things like she might have squeaked or something, or she tweeted it in a way, as opposed to she said it or she spoke. I'm going to use different words to describe my character, right? So that I can emphasize who they are as a person. Does that make sense for you? This is the first thing I did was build my characters. Yes, you've got to build those, date them, get involved with them. I remember one time, I promise you, my character woke me up. He was sitting, this is going to sound crazy, but I promise you, because this is how one must be a little crazy to write a good novel. That's the thing. So we are going to accept in this space that to be a fiction writer, you got to be a little off. You've got to be a little off. And that's a whole nother conversation. I'll tell y'all, you got to be a little bit crazy. So, but my character was like literally sitting on the edge of the couch. I taken a nap one day and he was like, yo, what's up with you? What we doing? And the fact that my character was talking to me the way that he speaks, in my mind, I was like, I have to get some writing done, because this character is talking to me this way. It's not like, oh, Sheree, I wonder if you would write about me. No, he was like, yo, what's up? What we doing? I got stuff to do. I got like, what you holding me up, sis? I was a little intimidated, to be quite honest with you, but that's the truth. And that's how intimately I want you to know your characters. I want you to know them, love on them, and let them love on you. Okay? Be in great relationship with your characters so that you are representing them well on the page. Clear? Makes sense? Cool. All right, good. Got it. Good morning. Again, I'm glad you guys are rocking with me. As you join in, make sure that you say hello, tag a fiction friend, share this on IG with other fiction writers so that we can get some people blessed and benefiting in this space. So we've got our number one in this space. Good morning. Good morning. We got our number one in this space. So we know that we need to set our plot down. We need to have some organization in our plot when it comes to writing fiction. We're going to do a nasty throw it up on the page, get it all out, and then we're going to organize that mess. Okay. Good morning. Hello. So that's our number one. Then our number two is we're going to date those characters. We're going to get in relationship with those characters. They are going to be our boo things. You as my boo. Every character that you're using, your main characters, your supplemental characters, whatever that is, right? You need to know who they are. When they walk up in the stage, you're bringing them into the scene. Let's get into this. Let's know who they are, okay? Don't just be dropping random people around and hoping that your readers make sense of them, because we're not. Your reader's going to be like, who is this person? Where did they come from? I don't trust you as an author. I'm done. I'm not going to read your next book. I'm not going to get into it. I'm over it, okay? So, dating your characters. And then number three. Number three is the big one. And I like to teach on number three in a very specific type of structure when I do break this down for number three, because number three is all about who the hell is telling the story. That's really number three. Who is telling the dang story? Who does the story belong to? Who is our narrator? Who is telling the story? Are we in first person? We're writing fiction, so we're not going to be in second person, which is the you, that kind of thing. So we're going to be in first person, which is either the I, right? We're I in first person. I did this, I did that, I blah, blah, blah. Or we're in third person, and third person has two variations. There are two variations of third person. Understand and hear me, okay? So let's go first person first, and then we'll break down the two variations of third person. Cool? Y'all got it? First person first. Let's get into the benefits, pros and cons. And then we're going to get into the two variations of third person. Y'all rocking with me? Let me know if this makes sense. If this is good. I said great information. This helps. I'm glad. Thank you. All right, cool. So number one, first person is I. First person means I, me, I'm telling this story. And the benefits, it is important. It is vital to establish your narrator, right? Good morning. It is absolutely vital to establish your narrator. And here is why. Because the person that's telling the story, they are the person telling the story, but they're in control of what your reader knows and finds out. So whoever, it's like, who knows what and how much do they have access to? So in first person, let's go this way. In first person, I am telling my story. I, Sheree, right? I'm telling my story. So the benefit of that is I can immediately suck you in as a reader. That's the benefit of first person. That means that if you pick up the book and the first thing that you read on the page is I started having sex when I was 12 and I had my first baby at 13, you're immediately sucked in. Right, I have grabbed you right from the start by this is me, right? I can bring you right into my story. I can bring you in. I can tell you what's going on in the back end and what happened and how it hurt and who did this. I can give you all this first-hand experience. So what it does is it allows your reader to have an immediate connection with your audience. I mean, with your narrator, right? It's organic because that's all they're getting. It's me. I'm telling the story. One of the negatives to that is that you don't have access to anybody else. You can't tell me what anyone else is thinking. You don't know why they did this particular thing. It's all coming from that first person perspective. Now, one of the things that happens a lot in first person perspective, when you're doing all the I, it starts to lean a lot to your sentences sounding like I did this, I did that, right? And there's some tricks to work on that. And we go higher level writing, right? That's not for this lesson. But essentially, that's how I works. I want you to remember when you're writing in first person that you still have to paint the scenes for us. You still have to give us visuals, right? That's a deficit that I'll see a lot of new fiction writers when they're dealing with first person, because it's very easy to write. It is super easy to write. It is very easy to get out, but you often miss the opportunity to build visuals because you're just telling us what happened. So that's first person, okay? Then we have two variations of third person. That first variation of third person is third person limited. Third person limited, okay? Think of it like a, what are those called? Reality TV show, essentially, right? Think of the third person limited like a reality TV show. And that person, the cameraman, is only hanging on one character. They're only following around this one person. So I only know, right? The person that's telling the story is only telling it from this one person's perspective. So my camera is only on Sheree. So I'm moving around Sheree. I know what Sheree thinks. I know what she feels. I know what she's going through. I know what her backstory is. I know what her memories are. I know what her associations are with other people. I know when she sees that person, what triggers. So I can write about that. Sheree looked and saw the man standing over there to her left, and he reminded her of the lover who left her when she was 21, right? Whatever it was, right? It could be anything, right? Whatever it is, you can write about that as the narrator, because you're over top of this one person's perspective, right? That's it. One person. So that's third person limited, okay? That's it. Good morning. Good morning. And when you are in third person limited, that's all you're allowed to give us. You don't get to know what everybody else is doing, right? Children of Blood and Bone does that. Third person, you're only in one space with folks, right? Third person. So my novel does that. I do that with Candace Rain, third person limited. Third person, the second variation of third person is third person omniscient. That is all seeing, all knowing. You are God. That means that your narrator knows everything. Your narrator knows everything about everybody. And I think of the movie Crash, right? I think of the movie Crash and how you could be like, the camera cuts to every person. We are with every single person. So as a reader, we're aware of things that one of our characters may not know. That's good, right? That's good. When you can set it up and move it and move the pieces, right? In third person omniscient, the story is the biggest thing. The story, it's what's moving the story. So the characters are like puzzle pieces, and you're manipulating them and moving them around in this space because you have that flexibility and control in third person omniscient, because you are God, right? But you are also entitled. You are also, responsible for giving us valuable information. It's also your obligation to provide insight to different things, to give us backstory, to give us glimpses of his story, right? There's certain things that you have to give us. You cannot, in third person omniscient, just jump randomly. You in his head, her head. It's called mind hopping, and it's not allowed. And it's distracting. It'll drive your readers crazy. It's a lot. So you have to be in control in third person omniscient, which is why a lot of people stray away from it, right? Because you have to write with authority in this space. So you find a lot of new writers, new fiction writers leaning towards first person because it's easier to control, especially your first time out the gate. Neither is wrong. Doesn't matter which one you choose. Just pick one. Right? That's the goal, is to pick one, to make sure that you know exactly what your plot is. What is the goal? What's the overall outcome? What are you trying to get accomplished or demonstrate here in this space? That's number one. Number two, what's up with your characters? Do we know characters, right? Do we know characters? Do we know who they are, what they want, where they're going, what their dreams or aspirations are, what they're afraid of? Do they like cats, dogs, puppies? What's their favorite color? Who their mama is? Is their daddy still alive? Do they have a relationship with their siblings and their sister? Like, did they forgive that person who stole their lunch money in the 5th grade? Do they have a vendetta against their dentist? Like, what the hell? We need to know. I need you to get into the specifics about your characters. The more intimate you are, the more in-depth, the more detailed you are, the better you are able to write about them, and the more interesting they become, because you can provide these intimate moments, this backstory, these things that are valuable to your reader to learn about your character if you know them. If you don't know them, then we all SOL. Okay? That's what happens. So I need you to make sure that you know your characters. Cool? Characters is number 2. Number 3, who in the hell is telling the story? Who is telling the story? Who is in control? Who is your narrator? What are they doing here? What kind of literary muscle are you flexing? We in first person or third? Third limited, third omniscient. Which one is it? Which one is it? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. The goal here is to know, is so that you can be in control, so that you know what you're doing when it comes time to actually writing this baby, and you're not all over the place, driving yourself crazy and creating a mess, creating an absolute mess. Okay? So we got that. We got our 3 fiction tips for the day. These are the things that every fiction writer needs to know. That's my most common way as a narrator. Third person limited. Yep. I have to get more into third person omniscient. Thanks for the insight. Yeah. So one of my favorite books I recommend. So there's 2 that I love when it comes to third person omniscient. And one is Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon. It is a great, great third person omniscient. She moves so fluidly through characters. Actually 3. So there's a super, super old one. And I mean like 1900 industrial age, Edith Wharton, House of Mirth. House of Mirth is one. It's really old, but it is phenomenal if you want to see that demonstration of third person omniscience. So we got a really old one, classic literature. It's beautifully done. And then we've got Toni Morrison, Song of Solomon is one of my favorites for third person omniscient because of just Toni's Toni. And the way that she controls that thing is just, it's insane. So if that's what you're looking for, is a way to get into that, I recommend those 2. And then one fiction writer who I love is Quan. So Quan writes urban fiction. He writes, he's got this, the animals, like it's not even a trilogy. He's probably like done 15 novels. And one of my favorites by Quan is K-W-A-N Quan. And his book is Eviction Notice. So Quan has a book called Eviction Notice, and I love this book because it's so hood, it's so real, it's written so well, and the movement of the characters, what happens over here, and you don't know that it's happening, but you know that somebody else know that it's happening. You're like, oh my God, that blew me away. So I will always be a fan. I love Quan anyway, love him and his wife, but I will always be a fan because he's just a great writer, and the control that it takes to write third person omniscient like that, that's a real skill. So if you want to get into a couple different novels, those are my 3 suggestions. Go old school to Edith Wharton, House of Mirth, go Toni Morrison, because that's a classic. You can't beat Toni on that sense, Song of Solomon, and then go contemporary, go urban lit, go, right now in the trends right now is Quan. He's just phenomenal. phenomenal. So get into that, get into those three if you're looking for a way to get into flexing that third person omniscient muscle. And you can see how the writer is moving you through this story, using different, I mean, you could use, it's endless, right? This is the nerd in me geeking out, right? Because it's endless. It's the way that you can control things in third person omniscient. That's mastery. When you get into that level of fiction writing, that means you're having a good time with it and you know what you're doing in that space. And not everybody's there right out the gate. And that's okay. But read as much as you can. Get into it. Test your hand at it. Write a short story in third person omniscient. Give it a shot. See what you can do. You know, you're not gonna get any better unless you practice it. You're not going to get stronger in the craft unless you do more of it. Right? That's how it works. Writing is like any other skill. You have to sharpen it in order to use it. You can't not write and then be like, I'm a writer. That's not how it works, right? If I don't write, and this is why I'm saying I have to get back to it. If I don't, I'm writing for other people, but if I don't start to write for myself more fluidly soon, I'm going to die. Right? As a writer, I'm going to it's going to be no more charade, right? So that's why I'm moving at this rate, like preparing things, getting things set up with my business. My bays are moving, flowing so that I can transition back into this space and get back into the exercise and the love of the craft, because it's a real thing as a writer. So for my fiction, and this is why I love Fiction Fridays, and I miss you guys. I'm sorry I haven't done it in so long, is because it's very different from nonfiction writing, right? Fiction writers want to be better. Fiction writers are insane. Fiction writers want to become better writers. We are like a tribe, a village of sentence watchers. We are like looking for the good words. We are trying to make that sentence sexy. We want it to sing. We want you to flip those pages like you done lost your mind. Like that is a desire of a fiction writer, is to excel at this thing. It ain't a hobby. Right? As for a fiction writer, no, I'm going to say this. It may be something that you do as a hobby, but it's something that we still do with passion. We crazy as hell, as all hell, ain't we? Fiction writers. I had my team laughing the other day. So I do a training with my team. We do a monthly training once a month, and we do a weekly training, myself and the bays. So we at our weekly training, our Tuesday night training, we were talking about how crazy it is to visually put together a scene. Right? What does that require, right? If you're actually trying to figure something out, and y'all go with me because I told you one must be a little crazy to write a fiction novel. So sometimes when you're like trying to map out a fiction scene, you're like, what do it mean when you like do your head to the left? What is that thing with, what is it called when you like, all right, now if I jump and they duck, what is that? How do you describe that? Stand right here. If I put my hand like this, like you'd be trying to figure it out. What is that word? Is that a stretch? Is that a yawn? Did she stumble? What is the word I'm trying to figure out to describe exactly what I'm trying to describe? And we be out here looking crazy, trying to get it together. But that's really how it works. If I get up and I move, do I move quickly? Do I pace? Do I step back? Like, what is that word for that? It's like obsessive, right? It's obsessive. You know what I'm talking about in this space, right? It is absolutely obsessive. And that's how it works as a fiction writer. You're just into it that way. So I want to encourage you to keep it up. Keep being as incredibly creative and as amazing as you are. Just make sure that as you're writing in fiction, that these are some things that you understand and that you stay in the know, you stay reading, you stay connected. You are always expanding your knowledge and reading like a writer. Right, that you are reading like a writer. You're not reading anymore for enjoyment, right? Unfortunately, but you're reading paying attention to these mechanisms, to these mechanics in action. You're reading trying to see how it all works out, okay? So I want to encourage you this morning to stay the course, to keep writing. Make sure that you tag a friend to jump into these types of conversations on our Fiction Friday. It's Fiction Friday. And when you say it, you gotta shimmy. Right, because that's our Fiction Friday. So make sure you sing Fiction Friday and join in. So I will continue to do more of this with all of that I have going on. I don't want to neglect my fiction folks because I love y'all. And I want to encourage you in this space. So stay blessed. Enjoy your Friday. Happy writing. Quick recap. Number 1, we need a plot. Calling me while I'm talking to people. Number 1, You're welcome. Good morning. I love Fiction Fridays. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Number one, plot. We got our plot. Boom. Number two, Fiction Friday rocks. Thank you. Number one, plot. Number two, we got our characters. We're going to date our characters. We're going to know them intimately. They're going to be our boo things, right? Can I get a boo thing? Right. That's our boo things. All of our characters. Whether we love them or not, they belong to us. We need to own that. Okay. Number one, plot. Number two, character. Number three, who the hell is telling the story? Who is telling the story? Who is in control of what we know? Who is giving us this information? Understanding that is vital. The person who's telling the story, then it is through them that we get to find out what's happening in the story. So we have to be in control of that point of view, right? Who is your narrator? Are we going first person, or are we going third person limited, third person omniscient? Those are your choices. Make your choices, do your brain dump, sit down, map this stuff out, get excited about it, have some fun this weekend, do some writing, okay? All right, folks, have an amazing Friday. I love you. Have an awesome, awesome day. Peace out and happy Fiction Friday. It's Fiction Friday. I'll see y'all again next week. Peace out, folks. Peace out.